Hi there, welcome to ILM Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Leo energy, and we're going to do this 10 card spread, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people are at different emotional maturity levels, and some people are still operating more manipulated by their ego nature, which can be fear, insecurity, lust, greed, defensiveness, immaturity, self-centeredness, want to be indulged or whatever. And other people have kind of learned lessons in life, aren't as manipulated by those to such a degree, and they're more inspired by truth and love, and so they're going to handle these energies differently. So it might be something particular that people who are a Leo sun sign or have significant Leo placements might be something they kind of more battle with, but we all tap into Leo energy, and we then have the free will to choose to align with our more high vibrational Leo energy or our more worldly shadowy Leo energy, and we're dealing with other people in the world that are in somewhere on the spectrum of it. And if you're more motivated and inspired by authentic, loving, encouraging, supportive relationships, you probably want to be in relationships with other people who are like that. And listen to your intuition about how people are motivated in their Leo energy to operate more from their ego nature or their more loving, authentic nature. So the overarching reason for the reading is the seduction card, which I view as fire sign energy. And the end of the story, we have marriage and child. We're either kind of indulging and aligning with our more egoic, immature nature, like we indulge ourselves or we indulge other people, or we have learned to love our inner child nature and align with our more hopeful believing nature and offer love to ourselves to be encouraged to keep believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams and be less manipulated by our ego nature. So what's going on? At the heart of the reading is the false person, which is like our ego nature. We have our dualistic nature. Our shadow nature wants to be in the driver's seat of our life. So it's always something we have to contend with, and there's always going to be other people in the world who are more wanting to be in a relationship with people, but they are operating more from their egoic nature. Like high vibe Leo is you're being authentic and honest and loving, and you offer love and encouragement to yourself to temper your ego nature, to keep being more motivated and inspired by truth and love. But some people can try to present themselves wearing a mask as being that type of person, and that's where people who've learned lessons in life have learned to listen to their intuition about people and trust their intuition, because your intuition is like your creative, hopeful, believing spirit. And I think it was given to you as a gift to help you navigate in this world, for the fact that people can present themselves any way they want to in the world, but is that the truth of who they really are and what really drives and motivates them? So, who's who and what's kind of driving and manipulating you. So we start out with the Clover card, the Ring card, and the Aquarius card. Then we have Wealthy Woman, which is kind of like the Queen of Pentacles, the False Person, the Courthouse, Seduction, the Heart card, the Playmate, and the Marriage. So there are some people in the world that do shadowy energy is trying to manipulate someone. If you're not being truthful and authentic and actually motivated and inspired, kind of having hope and faith and belief in yourself and in your dreams and in others and in love, you're kind of trying to create the illusion that you're maybe that type of person, but it can be more motivated by how it benefits them. If it's good for their ego and image, if they think they can manipulate someone, that someone doesn't see through their false mask. So let's read it from a more shadowy perspective first. This card says Sagittarius, this says Taurus, this says Aquarius. There's some shadowy people in the world that have already had more hopeful, believing, loving people who saw through the illusion of who they were, kind of saw that they're kind of immature. The Playmate card also reminds me of Sagittarius energy. That there's just still kind of don't have hope and faith and belief in love. And again, it can be, I don't even want to do love. If I do love, I can get hurt. And so it can be, I just want to be in a relationship, indulge myself in a relationship, maybe enjoy relationships, but I don't, in their philosophy of life, which is Taurus energy, they're more seduced by and emotionally aligned with being more about themselves still, which can just be their self protective, self defensive nature. I don't want to authentically do love. I don't want to, in order to be more authentically yourself and do love, you have to work through harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way and figure out why you do. The truth sets us free to live our more authentic life. And people can get in relationships with people, enjoy the relationship, can be kind of, it can look victorious and successful in a lot of ways, can put some work and effort into the relationship, try to maintain balance in the relationship. But ultimately, people find out in a relationship with them that they're either more immature, they're full of themselves, they're wanting to be indulged, it's more about them and their ego and their image, and it's not really motivated and inspired by love. And that's what some people are doing right now. Some of them could be, if there's someone that they see who they think, you know, we all want to be in friendships and relationships, and that's what Taurus energy can represent, all these different institutions of the world where we come together with other people, looking to find someone who wants to be in a relationship that they think in their Aquarius energy are maybe a little bit more about, you know, wanting, you know, to be in a relationship with people, to have their dreams come into reality. Um, and they're looking for people who they think they can manipulate. They could either be very emotionally nurturing, loving people. The wealthy woman, as the Queen of Pentacles, can just represent how people think and feel, whether you're male or female. Shadowy people could look for definitely for people who either are very loving and abundant and nurturing, because loving and nurturing people put a lot of work and effort to try to make a relationship work, to work through the fears and insecurities, to try to make it more balanced because they're motivated and inspired from love. And high vibe Sagittarius can be about being loving and encouraging and supportive. They're either looking for someone who they think is loving and encouraging and supportive, who just maybe hasn't seen the truth about people like them. Still a little bit in their ego, because um, high vibe Leo energy, represented by the sun, is being illuminated to the truth. And even people who are really loving people, it's hard for us to want to accept the truth that some people are more, we live in a world of duality. We have to have free will. There has to be all these different kind of people in the world for us to make these free will choices. And the fact that there is some people in the world that somewhere along their path of life decided, I'm not doing love. I'm not motivated and inspired by love. I can enjoy being in relationships, want to be in relationships, but love, no. In my free will, that is not what I am married to. I am married to kind of being more about myself, more about the world, indulging myself, having it be more about me. I think it's just and fair. I want to be in relationships with other people who think that's just and fair, and who also will indulge me and make it more about me. Be in the relationship and stay in the relationship more for the ego or the image, or indulge me in my immature, poor behavior. And it basically can be looking for people who they think haven't just seen the truth about people like them. that still could kind of be caught up in the illusion that, well, no, even if I see that you're kind of immature or stubborn or prideful or defensive, that can be us kind of in our ego, like, I'm sure you'll change though, honey. So that's us kind of being in our ego instead of willing to deal with the truth that people are either more balanced within themselves and have freed themselves from their more shadowy nature to be more just and fair and authentic and loving and see the truth of that, or we want to kind of stay in our ego and in denial of the truth because we can be attracted to people. We want these friendships and we want these relationships, so we kind of want to stay in denial of the truth, thinking everything will work out anyway. And that's where we're kind of seduced by our ego. Oh, I'm sure they'll change. I'm sure they'll grow up. I'm sure they'll get out of their defensive nature. Instead of seeing the truth and seeing the truth that they could be more immature, more stubborn, more prideful, more about themselves, more about the world, more defensive, more emotionally invested in wanting to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship for the ego or the image. And we're all kind of tempted because we want these things of the world. We want the friendships and the relationships. And they're just looking for someone who they think will kind of stay in denial of the truth or hope that one day they'll change. And they're like, hey, let's get in the relationship. Let's do it. You keep thinking I'll change. I'm not going to, but I'll create the illusion that maybe I'm more inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. But as time goes by, the problem is when people are ready to kind of move forward. Now I'm kind of looking at the child card as like an ace card, an ace of cups, an ace of wands, an ace of swords, an ace of pentacles. The more high vibrational people have learned more lessons in life than them. That's why they're just more balanced to begin with. And then they're kind of ready to move forward in life differently because they've kind of learned some of these lessons that some of the other people haven't. And that's when you can get in a relationship and you can be in a relationship with them for quite a long time. But when the other person is kind of like, okay, well, I've been loving and encouraging and supportive, and, you were created the illusion that you wanted to have this new beginning and move forward also, and that you were ready to move on from some of these old ways of being, but it keeps not happening. The heart card up here in Libra energy makes me think of the Three of Swords, you know, hoping that people will get balance between their mind and their heart and their ego nature and their more hopeful believing nature and be inspired to move forward in life a little differently. And that's when people find out that the other people are like, no, I'm not willing to do that. This is like my comfort zone. I like to stay here so long as you're willing to stay in the relationship and it works for you. It's good for your ego and image. You have a friendship, a relationship, a job. If you're more seduced by those things, then stay in it with me. And then we'll just keep moving forward in that energy. Because if they don't change how they think or feel or grow or mature or get out of their more worldly perspective of life or heal from past pain and heartbreak or get out of thinking it should be more about them or people should indulge them, they're going to keep moving forward in the same energy that they're in. And right now, people could be in the midst of friendships and relationships and they're trying to figure out, you know, do they think someone will change? Are they willing to see the truth of people that they're in a relationship with? Do they think they can manipulate someone? And if some shadowy people think they're in a relationship with someone who doesn't yet see the truth of who they are, they might be willing to bring justice to the situation, like move more in a formal commitment in the relationship because they think they that that person doesn't see the truth of who they are. And they will keep trying to manipulate them and control them to get them to move forward and keep moving forward in the relationship with them, because they have someone to kind of indulge themselves in a relationship. It's good for their ego and image. If the person is loving and nurturing, well, hey, that works for them, and they in turn can present themselves as being that type of person, but it's for an ulterior purpose, for how it benefits them. It's not really motivated and inspired by truth and love and being inspired and having that hopeful, believing spirit in love. But if the other person doesn't know it, they'll keep trying to move it forward because it's good for their ego and their image and their status, and they get to indulge themselves in a relationship with someone who doesn't yet know the truth about who they are. Some people are in it. They've been trying to move things forward. The high vibe people, in a more balanced way, being more authentic and loving, not so much about the codependency or the ego or the image. And they could be starting to see that someone doesn't really have good intentions for them. And they could be kind of inspired to work through why they would keep staying in a relationship with that person, because if they are starting to see the truth that, I am putting in work and effort to try to move something forward in a more just, fair, authentic, balanced, loving way, and I'm starting to sense that the other person, it keeps not happening, and they want it to keep staying like this, that, they're inspired more by the ego and the image or something of it, instead of where you can give birth to something new that's your own, where you listen to love and intuition to guide you. But then you would have to tap into your fire sign energy of being inspired to have hope and faith and belief in yourself and others and love, to step out of your comfort zone, to be more authentically yourself. And if they're in a relationship with someone who they keep seeing is more defensive to being more authentic, they could be a little heartbroken. And, there's things about it we can like and we can love the person. And we're all tempted in our worldly nature to want these things. But some people are more inspired to align with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And if there's people in their life that they've kind of seen are more defensive, are maybe more immature, want to be indulged, are more about the ego and the image of it, and not really as inspired by love, some of those people, Sagittarius is also about communication. They might communicate with some people in their life that, I'm moving on. And then the shadowy people in their life will see that those people did kind of reconcile and get balance within themselves to kind of love and believe in themselves and believe in their dreams, which is something they don't do. They are very much manipulated by their defensive nature, their egoic nature, their worldly nature, and they don't like it when other people are inspired to love and believe in themselves. And high vibe energy is just being more independent of your egoic nature or fear and insecurity and codependency. And those things could all manipulate them. And then they could have people in their life who live their life like that. And they're not willing to live their more authentic life to get the justice they deserve. And they let other people in their life and their fear and their ego and their immature nature, and they just figure they'll go find someone else who doesn't maybe know the truth about them and start this pattern all over again. Now, what are the high vibe people doing? Some high vibe people already moved away from some people like that, and they're inspired to harness high vibe Sagittarius, Taurus, and Aquarius energy, which is My philosophy of life isn't more about getting in a friendship or relationship more for the ego or the image or the status of it. I have a dream, is what Aquarius energy can talk about. And I am kind of balanced and have offered love to my own shadow nature to be more balanced within myself. Do I want some of these things of the world? Do these things seduce me just like it seduces everyone else? Yeah. But instead of harnessing a shadowy Libra energy of, well, these things are more important, that's the most important thing, that's my truth, other people have already realized I did make my life about some of those things. I indulged in some things that I thought were going to make me happy. I indulged in certain friendships and relationships and ways of viewing life and living life that I thought would make me happy. And I realized I had gotten kind of more caught up in the illusion of the world and maybe wasn't really living my truth. And again, we come in contact with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about our truth. And maybe we were more codependent. Maybe we were more immature. Maybe we were more caught up in the worldly things. But as time goes by, kind of realizing that the Queen of Pentacles can talk about our own unique talent, skills, and interests and our truth. And some of the ways of living life, I had to learn these lessons. Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. I had to go through these life experiences to help me get clear about what my truth was and my truth wasn't. And maybe before, I wasn't really nurturing and loving myself, because I think learning to love yourself, which I also view as high vibe Leo energy, is learning to give yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. And until you learn how to do that, you are going to probably get in relationships out of more codependent energy. You want to be in friendship, you want to be in relationship, you want to be in marriage, you want people to love you, you want to be in relationship with people that you love. But again, you can get in relationships with people where you really haven't learned to love yourself. So then kind of if you get in relationships with people who are more loving and encouraging and authentic, you can kind of reject them because you kind of reject yourself. And then you can repeat this old pattern of getting in relationships with people who aren't as loving and encouraging and authentic, because that's a pattern that you repeat. And you'll repeat that pattern until going through that pattern enough times makes you have to kind of forces you to do this work within yourself, to love and believe in yourself and stand up for yourself and believe you do deserve to be in a more just and fair and authentic and loving relationship. And then you might communicate to the people you're in a relationship with, that could be a more mismatched relationship, that you are the one now who wants to move forward in a more just, fair, authentic, hopeful, believing way, because you've kind of were inspired to put in this work and effort to look at life from a higher perspective, to love and believe in yourself, and also heal from some past pain and heartbreak and things that kind of had you in your ego before, which can just be the past pain and heartbreak and things, and that you've gotten more balance within yourself. And now you're inspired to move forward in more just, fair, balanced, authentic, loving relationships, because um, you could have always been someone who was willing to give love, but kind of um, accepting love in a way could have been difficult. And then people can find out that the people in their life, they're like, well, no, I liked it when you were in this other energy. Now you want to move forward differently. That's still not my truth. That might be your truth now, but that's still not my truth. But some of those people can see that you did work through past pain and heartbreak, and you are more inspired to love and believe in yourself and stand up for yourself. The courthouse with the scales of justice reminds me of Libra energy, and I think of Libra energy as the King of Swords, which is standing up for yourself and what you believe in. And maybe before, all these life experiences were to try to get you to love and believe in yourself and um, stand up for yourself and what you believe in. And maybe a past pattern was where you didn't really stand up for yourself, or didn't know if you really deserved a just and fair relationship, and hadn't learned to love yourself. And now that you are, you're more inspired to move forward with other people who are inspired to and have done that same work within themselves. And then as you get to know people and you're moving forward in your life, you're meeting, there's always going to be people somewhere on the spectrum of kind of their emotional maturity level, and how defensive they are, how immature they are, how manipulative they are, how egotistical they are. I think it should be more about them. And now that you've kind of been in high vibe Leo, kind of illuminated to the truth, there can be people that you can meet, that you can be attracted to, but now you're more inspired to align with your more hopeful, believing nature and maintain balance within yourself. That even though there can be people that, can tempt us in those worldly things, they look very victorious and successful, or stable, or abundant, or attractive, or charming, or whatever in some way. You're maintaining balance within yourself, not to take action towards people who now listening more to your intuition, or maybe before you didn't listen to your intuition. That if my intuition tells me that that is more what drives those people, I've already learned that's not my truth. And I'm not going to take more action. If I have communicated with people my truth, I'm working together with people in a just and fair and authentic way. If they seem to kind of have a problem with that, I wish you peace. Thank you for showing me where you're at. And I'm going to invest more of my time, energy, and effort into the people in my life and in my neighborhood and in my community and in my workplace who I think do work together with me more in a more balanced way, a more authentic way, a more loving way. And then as you're moving forward in that energy, other people are moving forward in that energy, and some people aren't. But as we're moving forward in that energy, we can always meet and know people, and we're trying to figure out kind of, are they someone, and then it can take time, the swords and the wands. It can take time to get to know people, to try to get to know who's who. And if some people or you see that some people, you get to know them more, and if you find out they are more just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving people, then those will be people that will move forward with you and the other people in your life who are that. And some people could see you just like you could see other people who are very inspired, stable, look like a shining star in some way, emotionally mature in some way, but they're just not sure, just like you cannot be sure about some people if people are really who they say they are. So we could decide, everybody could decide, I'm going to maintain balance within myself. I'm not going to, in a more shadowy Sagittarius energy, take more impulsive action. I'm going to keep maintaining balance within myself, getting to know people, go with the flow, see how things go, and assume that, and even if there isn't people in your life that you think are more high vibrational, you believe as you keep moving forward, listening to truth and love, walking the talk, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, that, you will meet people because you're freeing yourself up, not investing in people who aren't on the same page as you, to meet people who are more on the same page as you. And there's probably people in the world, because there's always more immature, shadowy people who are going to try to tempt people in their more worldly nature, and that's how they live their life, and they think that's just and fair. And maybe people who use their status, their image, their looks, their charm. High vibe people can have status, image, looks, and charm also. They just don't try to use those things to try to manipulate people to create the illusion they're loving. What they really bring to the table and are motivated and inspired by is truth and love and justice and fairness. And shadowy people would love to get someone who's a more not immature, not manipulative, not deceptive, not full of themselves, not prideful, not egotistical, to be in a relationship with them. If there's going to be someone shadowy in the relationship, they just want it to be them. And hoping they can use these things of the world that they have to tempt a high vibe person into getting in a relationship with them. And some high vibe people have already been tempted and manipulated by people like that. And they've learned to maintain balance within themselves, temper their more worldly nature to stay focused on the bigger picture and walking the talk. And it's like, no, I'm moving forward like this. If that's your truth, then I guess you're going to stay back there. And, our truth of what we think is just and fair is different. What we're emotionally kind of driven and motivated by is different. And I'm going to keep moving forward, walking my talk and my truth. And I guess you're going to keep living your life based on your truth and what you think is just and fair. And you'll probably try to manipulate or tempt or control someone else. And if that person, then the next person comes into their life to learn lessons from them. And if that person is kind of more motivated and inspired by those things also, well, then that's a just and fair relationship. They're in a relationship with someone like themselves. Someone else who might be kind of more about themselves and the ego and the image, and that's where then you use your emotions and your sexuality and your status or your image or whatever to keep manipulating people to keep staying in the relationship with you for these other reasons. But the whole thing is, if it isn't love that drives and motivates them, it's always kind of looking, well, who would be more willing to indulge me? Who has more status and more image? Who would require kind of less of me? Where I like wanting reward without effort. And maybe who's more immature and doesn't know the truth about people like us. And if I can go get in a relationship with one of those people and it would have the status or the image, or they're a loving, nurturing person who doesn't know about, they would get out of the relationship because it's really more about just how it benefits them. And it's just kind of indulging themselves in the relationship. And other people don't want to play these games. Are you inspired by truth and love to work together in a more emotionally mature way, interested in believing that's how we can really manifest our dreams into reality, being loving and encouraging of each other to love and believe in ourselves and each other? But some people, again, it's more like, I want it to be more about me, and I want other people to make it more about me. And it's not about really, you know, they can be loving and encouraging and supportive to a degree in a relationship, but not where you ever want them to work through their issues to free themselves from it. And so they have a comfort zone that they want to stay in, and they're not inspired to step out of their comfort zone. They have a way of viewing life that could be kind of fixed. I like to do it this way. This is my comfort zone. I think this is just and fair. I think this is what's most important. And it could be being about them, shadowy energy in general. And we should stay in it more for these reasons: the ego, the image, the status, the fear, the insecurity, the codependency. And if they can find someone who wants to do that, then they're on the same page. Other people just realized that's not my truth, and I don't want to stay in a relationship just for those reasons. So, what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Leo energy? They got inspired to emotionally grow and mature themselves and offer truth and love to their own heartbreak, and inspired to free themselves from things that manipulate them. Those people are balanced within themselves. They're more inspired by truth and love than their worldly nature. And I think those people are going to get justice in the world, and other people see them as very stable, grounded, emotionally mature people. It's just that there's a lot of immature people that would like to be in a relationship with people like that, to indulge in it for however they would benefit from it. But it's not their truth, and high vibe people are listening to their intuition about people like that. What's coming up for the high vibe people? The Star card. Why? Because of the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands can talk about, with the one wand is what you're motivated and inspired by, and then the second wand is taking action based on what motivates and inspires you. And so you are taking action, being motivated and inspired to put in work and effort to bring your dream into reality. And I view the Queen of Pentacles and the Ring card, that does say Taurus, and I view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus. You're inspired by your dream and your truth, and you know some other people kind of are motivated and inspired by a different dream and a different truth. And, you know, getting out of your ego about it, that, well, their truth is different than my truth. Their idea of the dream life and the dream relationship and all that is different than my idea. So I'm going to put in this work and effort to love myself, to believe in myself, to maintain balance within myself, to keep being inspired by my truth and taking action to align with truth and love. And I think, you know, you're going to be shining very brightly in the world. The other people might look like they're shining very brightly and look very victorious and successful too. But the people in the world who are more inspired by truth and love see the truth that you're more inspired by truth and love. And other people have the free will choice. Well, I could be in relationships with people where it's more about these things, and I could either find people to indulge me in a relationship, or I could indulge someone else to have those things, or I could be inspired to love and believe in myself and let my more authentic nature come out in the world and be in relationships with other people. It's kind of like tempering your more immature, self indulgent nature to align with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And there's going to be other people in the world, either people that, you know, there's people in your life right now that are working together with you in this way. Do they necessarily have to live their life the way you live your life or view life the way you view it? No, they're friends and family members. And so it's like, hey, you go do you. I might not do that, and I might not have that dream, and that might not be things that motivate and inspire me, but are loving and encouraging of you loving and believing in yourself. And then there's other people that maybe you could get more in close friendships or romantic relationships with, if you're not in one right now, that are more aligned with that truth and look at life from that perspective. You know, Aquarius energy can talk about looking at life from a higher perspective, and some people don't. You know, they're more seduced by, in their Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, all these other zodiac sign traits and characteristics, just kind of more still caught up in the illusion of the world, where the most important thing is to have a certain status or image in the world, uh, have people view them a certain way, you know, whatever they're doing. Like, look at me, I'm living the dream, you know, even if it's really indulging in a lot of things that other people are like, oh my God, you're still so immature, but it's all what they think. And if they think, look at me, I'm living the dream, well, then, you know, they're happy, but they might be people who wear a false mask, try to manipulate other people, try to control other people, try to intimidate other people, try to get people to indulge them in a relationship, and everybody's got lessons to learn from people like that. It's just that other people have learned their lesson from people like that. And, the Sagittarius energy can be represented by, what is it? The 5, the 6, and the 7 of Wands. And the difference between the 5, the 6, and the 7 of Wands and the 2 of Wands is the 3, the 4, and the 5 of Wands, which is letting go of an old dream and thinking you can have come together with people in joy and celebration when in the 5 of Wands of their Leo energy, they're more motivated and inspired by their defensive nature, their ego nature, their immature nature. And yours is more inspired by truth and love, that your dream can't come into reality. And both the 2 of Wands and the Star card, Aquarius and Aries energy, it's not more about other people. It's not more about the ego or the image. We all put in work and effort to have stability and security in our life, but high vibe energy is about a balance. Do I want some of those things in the world? Yes, I'm not willing to sacrifice my truth or love for those things, and other people are. And it's like, I want a balance. I do live in the world. I do want some of these things of the world. I want to indulge and enjoy some of these things of the world. But it has to be where you look at life from a higher perspective, where the things of the world or being more about yourself is the most important thing. There's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And for one, it's freeing yourself from all these things that manipulate you. Your pride, your ego, your lust, your greed, your defensive nature, your self-centered nature, your past pain and heartbreak, your more immature nature, to really grow yourself to your full potential and live your more authentic life and be authentically yourself in the world where you're not wearing a false mask. That's true freedom and abundance. I can live my authentic life in truth and love. And I'm not trying to create an illusion about the person that I am. I have freed myself from some of the things that used to manipulate me, that made me hide behind my ego and not live my more authentic truth. And I want to be in relationships with people where I can let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature come out in the world, who are in that energy too, instead of being in a relationship with someone where I'm in a relationship with someone who is like their cardboard cutout self, because their authentic nature is looking out through the eyeballs, but their ego runs their life. I want to be in a relationship with people who have done this work within themselves, emotionally grown and matured themselves to get balance within themselves, who are inspired to be more authentically themselves, not operate from their ego, be authentic and loving, and have hope and faith and belief in themselves, others, and love. Does that mean everything will work out the way we want? No. But I'm not willing to give up my dreams. I will just see that if during the course of time, at every phase of life we go through, we can be tempted in our more immature nature and kind of drive our life off into the ditch. When I see that people are driving their life off into the ditch, I maintain balance within myself. I offer people truth and love and encouragement to move forward with me in hope and faith and belief and love. And if that next phase of life, they're not ready for it, I accept the truth of it. I work through my ego about it. And I keep moving forward, having hope and faith and belief. I don't give up my dreams. I just see that sometimes people come into our life for a phase of life, and we both could have been helpful and encouraging to each other to work through that we were kind of on the same page at, but then you can get ready to move forward differently and the other people aren't. And just like we've been the person who's like, oh, I'm not ready to move forward like that, and other people moved on ahead of us, and then we kept repeating a pattern until we were kind of more balanced within ourselves and had healed from whatever we needed to heal from and learned some of the lessons we needed to learn and faced our fears to move forward. And I think as you move forward, there's going to be other people too that view you as someone who they know could take action and get in friendships and relationships and indulge in certain things to make yourself feel better or whatever, to have a certain status or image if you wanted, but they see that you're not doing that. And that could be the person they've been looking for, right? So what's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy that they might not see coming up? We have the Four of Wands, the Five of Swords, the Four of Cups, the Two of Cups, the King of Pentacles, the Temperance card, and the Nine of Pentacles. And the reason is because of the Queen of Pentacles. Well, when people are being a little shadowy, manipulative, deceptive, prideful, immature or something, right? They're always going to have people in their life who have been like the wealthy woman. I view that as the Queen of Pentacles. Friends, family members, romantic interests that have been loving and encouraging to them and want to be in relationship with them in the Four of Wands. But some of those people in the Five of Swords is Aquarius energy, and then with the Four of Cups, they want to bring a dream into reality based on love. But these people, the shadowy people, have mental conflict about offering love. They like to offer these things of the world. And can't I present myself as loving and act loving towards you, but I don't really want to emotionally invest in the truth, which is love? I want to be in a relationship. I want you to stay in the relationship. But can't we make it more like, how about you be loving authentically and I still be kind of defensive? Well, how is your dream going to come into reality being in a just and fair and balanced and authentic loving relationship if the other person has mental conflict about love? In shadowy Four of Cups, they want to use their emotions more manipulatively. And kind of like, I don't think you love and believe in yourself enough to leave. And I think you have love for me. And I think you want this dream to come into reality. That I don't think you'll work through your mental conflict, and the shadowy person could have other things and people in their life that kind of manipulate them that they're not willing to become independent of, and whatever manipulates them, they want the people in their life to let it manipulate them also. If my more worldly nature manipulates me, I want you to let it manipulate you too. If I have other people in my life, my friends or my family members or whoever, if I kind of let them manipulate me, or I let the world at large manipulate me, I want you to let those people or the world kind of manipulate you too. They're the third party in our relationship, or my ego, or my fear, or my stubbornness, or my self centeredness, or my immature nature is a third party in this relationship. You should indulge me. I have told myself I think that's just and fair. They're going to have some people in their life that are going to have mental conflict about continuing to invest in them when they see that these people keep investing in kind of repeating an old pattern. And eventually some of those people are going to take that cup of love and give it to themselves instead of them. That I can have love for people, but if you're going to keep repeating these old patterns and acting in these ways that don't seem to be moving forward in truth and love and justice and fairness, I wish you peace. I've seen the truth. I've accepted the truth. I've worked through my own mental conflict about it. I can have love for you, I can wish you the best, but I'm going to invest in standing up, the King of Pentacles to the Queen of Pentacles. I am going, because the kings can represent action that we're taking in the world, and we all have our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. But in our 3D nature of the King of Pentacles, we also need to stand up for ourselves to protect our more loving, nurturing nature from people who seem to, and again, we could have been in a more imbalanced or codependent relationship where we were looking for someone else to kind of play that role in our life. And this life experience has taught some people to stand up for themselves and value themselves and give themselves the things that they wish other people would have given them. And then in the King of Queen of Pentacles, within themselves, they're balanced. They really are who they say they are, and they are standing up for themselves to get the justice they deserve. Instead of in more codependent energy, looking to someone else to play that role in their life, I am going to play that role in my own life. And then in the Temperance card of Sagittarius energy, I am going to balance out my emotions about the fact that I am becoming independent of this old way of living life, this old way of feeling, this way of viewing life, or then these people in my life that I was aligning with, because those people want me to keep having mental conflict about loving and believing in myself, and I offer them love, but they reject it, but they want me to stay in the relationship, or they don't offer me love, or they're trying to manipulate me. And I am going to love and believe in myself and know my worth and value and become independent and take action to bring my dream into reality, because I've been trying to bring my dream into reality here and it's not working. And I got out of my ego to be willing to see the truth of it. That my dream and what I'm motivated and inspired by is different than you. And so, again, that pattern can keep happening to people who either are kind of full of themselves that, well, no, I have these certain things, or this certain charm, or this certain status, or this certain image, or because you love me and I know you love me, you're supposed to keep indulging me. And some people are like, friends or family or whoever, it's like, I still love you, but I'm going to go, you do you. You're going to have to go learn some hard lessons in life just like the rest of us did. I've tried to maybe illuminate you to the truth, help you grow up and mature yourself, temper your ego nature, your immature nature, but I can't do that. You have to be inspired within yourself to emotionally grow up and mature yourself. And apparently, that's not what you're interested in doing. And I accept the truth of it. You do you. And I'm going to go focus on the people in my life who are more independent of their more egoic, worldly, immature, self-indulgent, being more about themself nature, or more consumed with these things of the world. And I'm going to go invest in people who are more independent, who have learned some of the same lessons I've learned. Those are the people I can really have my dream come into reality with. And then these people who kind of turn their back on harnessing that energy in a high vibe way, because again, they maybe haven't learned to love themselves, or they have mental conflict about love. So they're going to keep investing in looking to, because some people, their vice is relationships. Some people could go indulge in things of the world to make them emotionally feel better and be defensive to love, and just be like shadowy Sagittarius is kind of being a player. I'm going to go indulge in all these things or these relationships. That's like living the dream and make me feel better. It's like, and they think, but some people look to get in relationships with other people for them to make them feel more stable and grounded, or to love them. And they think they don't have to do this work within themselves to emotionally grow up and mature themselves or love themselves. And they'll keep repeating this pattern, and, you know, more high vibe people will move on, and other people who might have some mental conflict about loving themselves or believing in love, who could be more inspired to be in a relationship, or for the status or the ego or the image, or because a different relationship didn't work out, and instead of dealing with the truth of it and healing and growing and maturing themselves, also just want to get in a relationship to feel better, well, then they would be on the same page. That person over time could heal and grow and mature themselves, and they'll move on. Some of the more shadowy people, though, they never plan to become independent of a certain way of living life or viewing life if they have mental conflict about love. It's always just to maybe present themselves as a loving, nurturing person to get people to get in a relationship with them, but then they have mental conflict about love. They like to be in the relationship because they'd rather be in a relationship than be single, but it is more, so long as it's good for their ego and their image, and the people view them as a loving, nurturing person and haven't kind of seen that it's more for these other purposes, like of how it benefits them than authentically being motivated and inspired by love, they'll stay in it until those people kind of see the truth that it's not really love. It looks like love, it quacks like love, it has a lot of these things of the world that we want, and then kind of realizing that someone's kind of manipulating you to kind of give up on your dreams to settle for the illusion. And if some of those people start to realize that and love and believe in themselves and realize it is more being more caught up in these things of the world and that these people aren't who they present themselves as being, those people will become independent of them. And the shadowy people will go look for someone else who doesn't know the truth about them, or maybe people like them, or hasn't learned to listen to their intuition, or can be very loving or abundant, but kind of lacks hope and faith and belief that they can manifest their dreams into reality, or are still in more codependent energy, and they'll go find someone else to repeat this pattern with. There's always going to be shadowy people in the world, and you just have to be inspired to believe that you have learned these lessons from people. You've also learned to temper yourself and gotten out of your more codependent, more immature energy to be aware that everyone's not who they say they are, and to maintain balance within yourself so you don't take action more for shadowy reasons, and get to know people to figure out what their truth is or their truth isn't. And if your intuition tells you, no, this person is more about these things and not really being authentic, you're willing to move on and not give up your dreams, because you've already been in relationships with people like that, and you know that eventually, if people were wanting to be more authentic, just, fair, balanced, loving, they would be. And if they're not, they're not. And they're not, if you're being that way and they're not being that way, no more illusions about the fact that people will change. I need to go find the people who already are that. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.